Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share an update on my experience with the Sony RX100 Mark III. This is an expensive pocket point-and-shoot camera, but one of the most premium and arguably, I would say, one of the best cameras ever made. And I mean, regardless of format, form factor, interchangeable, whatever it is that you're considering, when in this day and age most people depend on their smartphones to be cameras, and that is a truth, whether I think it's terrible or not. The RX100 Mark III reminds you that some companies still believe that a small camera with incredible features isn't just a gimmick, frankly. And that's what we have here. A 1-inch sensor that's only been improved since the original RX100. Now a piece of glass, as I've covered, that's also been improved. 24 to 70 millimeter 35 equivalency, but f1.8 across the range. I mean, this is a brighter, faster piece of glass. Yes, it doesn't have the same reach as the Mark I or Mark II, but we have faster glass. We also have an OLED viewfinder on the actual body, built in. As you can see, it just ejected. And this is really the, I would say, key selling point to this new camera, is that those of you that have always wanted an OLED viewfinder, you now have it. Is it the best viewfinder? Well, it's very competent. When I compare it to other OLED solutions that Sony's used in the past, it's right there with it. In terms of refresh rate and keeping up with action, it does a great job. You aren't afforded any sort of hood here, but when you think about how compact, this is a pocketable camera after all, it's an amazing feat, both in engineering and the fact that it works. My biggest complaint with it is that when you actually close the viewfinder, it shuts the camera off. And let's hope Sony can address that in some sort of firmware update, because that is not something you want to have happen. I think every user out there would prefer to have the flexibility to use the viewfinder at will and then seamlessly transition to using the LCD again when they don't necessarily need it. But I guess Sony's logic there is that if you're using the OLED EVF, you probably are going to use it exclusively, and that's why it does shut the entire camera down, whether I like it or not. But it is a bit of a nuisance, because there are plenty of times, at least for me personally, where I do want to switch without going through a whole reboot. And the power on time is very quick once the camera's been on and off a few times. So actively shooting, your power on and off time is going to be fast. But when the camera hasn't been used in a long time, startup time can range 5 seconds easily. So it can get a little bit sluggish. So not a great thing to have to go through that transition, and you could arguably miss the moment. Good thing is that all of the RX100 cameras have been blessed with a very nice high-res display on the back, but the sunny or bright sunlight mode that it offers really does make it pretty much possible in any amount of direct sunlight to use this display seamlessly without a problem. Now you're looking at the other really compelling feature for the Mark III, which I've mentioned in other videos, which is that you've got that fully articulating display that will allow you to shoot a selfie. It gives this camera something that most of the market neglects to have with this sort of quality package. The Mark III is not a weather-sealed camera. I wish that it was, but when you think about everything that it can do, as long as you keep it in a case or some kind, give it some sort of protection, you should be all right. That doesn't mean, of course, water. That is the element I just mentioned it's not protected from, but that's what a case should help with. There are a lot of different body fit style cases for this camera, because at $800, this is a very expensive piece of gear that is right up there with interchangeable lens systems, at least bodies, that is. Wi-Fi and NFC round out the modern package here. And again, without this display and the ability to quickly jump into that self-portrait, as well as just great framing in general, because it is a high-quality display, like everything else on this camera, you really do get the best of everything. You still have an integrated flash, something that you might have wondered how they could fit next to an OLED viewfinder coming out of the body. And it still has the feel, the overall build is metallic, but the feel and weight of a quality camera, which you wouldn't necessarily expect from any point-and-shoot pocket-friendly device. But that's something that the RX100 has had since inception. The Mark II carried through. I really loved the hot shoe. Of course, that was done away with in favor of building a viewfinder in, which was arguably, I think, the most wanted feature in this camera, because at its price point, it's attracting a lot of different users that at different photographic levels that I think just about everyone, again, welcomes having the viewfinder option when you are shooting seriously with a camera like this, which you can do. It's ironic considering its size, but even at this form factor, that sensor lens pairing does equate to a low light gem. High quality video, I haven't mentioned, you are capable of shooting in xavc-s, which is basically as good as it gets without going 4K, as well as Sony's format for 4K itself, but we're not there yet. On this camera at least, hopefully maybe in a firmware update or at least the next generation, but I know it has a lot to do with heat issues and how small this body is. But with time limitations on recording, maybe that's something they can pull off. But right now, even topping out at 50 megabits per second is incredible for video quality in a handheld, pocket-friendly camera. Of course, Panasonic's Lumix LX100 promises 4K in a larger form factor, not as pocket friendly, but you can see why the price of this camera may drop. Then again, I don't think this and the LX100 really directly compete, since again, this is literally pocket friendly. The LX100 is more akin to the RX1 in terms of form factor, which of course is a full frame camera with a fixed lens, not a micro four thirds or APS-C sensor under the hood there. Also, it doesn't have a zoom lens like the LX100, but the Mark III here really should continue to only be compared to pocketable cameras. And right now, there's still nothing better than this on the market. This is an additional grip that I have on here, but those of you that have watched my coverage already know that. The outputs on this are fairly standard. All the buttons in terms of how much programming you're going to do with this is a matter of personal opinion. Whether you're shooting in auto or trying to utilize every manual feature on this camera, you're going to be exceptionally pleased with what it outputs. And I really am hard-pressed to find people that look at the Mark III and think it isn't an advancement for all of photography, let alone the pocket-friendly field, which, again, there aren't many pocket-friendly cameras left that are justifiable in this world. Forget about carrying a price tag like this. And the fact that it's successful, stayed around, and has been innovated upon each new generation really does bring something. Many felt the Mark II wasn't much of an upgrade, but the Mark III clearly an upgrade in every way. I mean, we got a viewfinder, new lens, enhanced sensor performance, because we've got a new processor that wasn't in the Mark II, even though the sensor is pretty much the same. You just have everything going for you in this new Mark III. And then the fact that the LCD now fully articulates, I mean, this is what a pocket camera needs to be able to do. It needs to fill the niche for every user, and we all know how important the selfie has become. Not everybody wants to carry around one of those selfie sticks, as I call them, in order to extend a camera away from themselves and compose a shot blindly still, because they don't have something like the Mark III with a fully articulating display. So when it comes to still and video, this is the zero compromise solution. Really nothing else like it. Yes, other things will come out. Sony owns the market right now, though. Nothing can touch the Mark III. If you're looking for the best of everything in a pocket-friendly format that really, again, you aren't worried about the price tag to match, because there's no question you're paying for every element that comes together in the Mark III. And I have to say it's worth every penny if you are interested in a no compromise solution, or I should say the best compromise one can make when wanting the best image and video quality that you can fit inside a pocket. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.